Hey guys, my name is ESO and today I'm going to be telling you about Outward. It's a survival RPG game with Dark Souls level of difficulty that can be played in split screen and also online co-op. Now at first glance it may appear graphically dated and that's a fair statement to make. But this game was made by about 10 people. But despite that, in today's video, I'm going to be telling you why Outward is a game you're probably going to be very interested in. In Outward, you play as a normal human. You're not the chosen one and you have no special powers. In fact, you don't even start the game with mana. You actually need to perform a pilgrimage to the top of a mountain and then you can unlock your mana. You can then decide how much health and stamina you want to give up in trade for mana. Because the thing is, you don't really level up from experience in this game. Instead, you actually seek out different NPCs who can train you in certain skills, which you can unlock for gold, be it a health or stamina upgrade, a new spell or a weapon skill. At first, I actually thought I would hate this system, and in previous games, I've never liked it. But after 10 hours of play, it's actually extremely realistic, and I find myself balancing my gold between food supplies and progressing my character by purchasing different skills to try out. Now the survival mechanics of Outward are where the game truly shines. You can craft armor and weapons at campfires, as well as a variety of potions with the alchemy set. You can also make traps to turn the tables in battle, and learn different food recipes, each one with their own different effects, like refilling your health and stamina. Another example is boiling the crab eye berries makes them a potent poison that can then be combined with linen and rubbed on your weapon for a poison effect. The ingredient description actually hints at what that item is useful for in crafting. So it's very intuitive, like boiling salt water to get clean water and also some salt that you can then use to preserve foods in your inventory and stop them rotting as quickly. It sounds rather complicated, but actually in practice, once you spend some time with the game, it's quite an enjoyable process. As you're going to find, Outward is all about preparing for your journey or battle. But unfortunately, you can only actually carry a small amount of items, so upgrading your bag is very important. Then you can carry your essential survival equipment and still have some room to loot valuables from your foes to sell at the local market. There are different sizes of bags and some of them are going to be more useful for running around and adventuring, while others allow you to carry a ton of equipment. But ultimately, this bag is going to slow you down, so it's actually recommended that you drop your bag before combat so you can effectively dodge roll, because it gives you more invincibility frames. As far as defense goes, there are tons of different armor sets in the game, all of them are craftable. Not only are they going to offer you protection, but they'll also offer you a warmth value as well. For example, during winter, you'll need warm clothes that also give you some armor. There's also a desert zone in the game which requires lighter clothes in order to survive and not overheat. It all seems to be a bit of a balancing act to ensure your character has their food and water topped up. Now I'm usually the kind of person that doesn't really like this micromanagement in games, but in Outward I actually found I really enjoyed the process of preparing my food and character for what kind of journey I was about to make. And it was actually really easy to do if you just use your brain for a moment before setting foot outside of the door. Now combat in Outward is very difficult. Imagine Dark Souls level of difficulty. You cannot actually pause the game and you're going to find groups of foes overwhelming. In particular wolves, who are going to actually surround you and attack you from multiple directions if you're on your own, making it impossible to block them all at once. So especially early on but also later, it's actually very important to pick and choose your fights carefully. You can always backtrack and use a bandage or food to heal, but the healing works very slowly compared to how much damage the enemy actually deals to you. So it's best to avoid damage altogether by rolling and blocking. You're also going to unlock skills that boost your damage and allow you to perform evasive dashes or use bows from a longer distance. The bow gameplay was actually really good. You basically lock onto your target with the bow and then you need to aim to hit them. So you can actually aim above their shield and use it for a headshot. But how many weapons are there in the game, ESO, I hear you asking? There are 8 different weapon types in the game. There are two-handed and one-handed swords, axes and maces, and also halberds, shields, staffs, bows, spears, flintlock pistols, and so on. And each one has their own individual skill set, and you can mix and match everything, and I truly feel like while you can have a certain character build or setup, you really don't need to. You can literally play this game any way you want. In particular, the magic system is extremely unique. I haven't explored much of it yet, but you can basically summon a fire sigil using your mana or using a mana stone. And then while standing within that sigil, you can use the spark ability, which takes a tiny amount of mana, but if you're standing inside the sigil, it actually turns it into a fireball. So it's actually a really useful skill to have, which is one of the most unique magical systems I've seen. You can still, of course, cast spells out of thin air, but they're going to require more mana, and at the start of the game, you might not have that much to use. Preparing for battle is really important, so like using tripwires and different traps is always going to give you the edge. It requires a lot of trial and error though to discover how certain foes can be countered. So what actually happens if you die in Outward? Well, there is actually no game over in Outward. You simply die, and then something random happens, like a random event. This can be good and it can be bad, or really bad. For example, if you die in a dungeon, you can get taken prisoner by the enemy and you need to fight your way back out. You might even have all of your clothes stripped from you and you'll have to go and find your bag and so on later. If you're lucky, you might be discovered by a traveller and taken back home and fully recovered. One time though, I was actually taken towards my objective. So in rare cases, death can actually be a positive outcome. Or you can even be enslaved by bandits and left for dead after they steal all your gold. Many of these scenarios result in your character starting off starving or even worse, with a disease. Oh, and by the way, the game only uses one save. So whenever you make a decision, die, or accidentally drink salty water and get a disease, the game overwrites your save. This means you actually need to live with the consequence of every single action you make. Now this actually makes the game harder than Dark Souls because there are no bonfire checkpoints. But that said, it actually feels very fair and I cannot cheat the game, which as annoying as that is, I actually quite like it. Now let's talk about diseases. Diseases can be obtained through bad food preparation or catching a cold from the cold weather, and they give a temporary debuff to your character. Even getting attacked will mean your character is temporarily hurt and does minus 25% less damage, for example. You can also inflict the same thing on other foes though. Some diseases might give you a chance to vomit food, but your character's starving, so you still need to eat. I actually caught a disease very early on in my playthrough and I had no potion to cure it, so I ended up drinking tea and sleeping until my character was well again. It was exactly like in real life. The diseases are more of an annoyance and a setback in terms of time, which is obviously frustrating, but again, fair. But now I want to talk about co-op. God bless these developers. Outward actually has split screen. Do you guys remember what split screen is? I remember the years of fun I had with my best friend on the sofa next to me, playing Lord of the Rings, Return of the King or Battlefront next to each other. Just the amount of fun you can have when somebody is socially sitting in the same room as you in like a LAN party playing video games together. It's just an amazing experience that I think everyone needs in their life, but it's something that has been taken away from video games. This is the first game that has had split screen in years of this caliber of like, you know, a roleplay game. Well, Outward has split screen for PS4, Xbox, and also on PC. You can actually play with the keyboard and someone else on a controller. You also have online co-op as well. Basically how it works is the host can continue the main quest and their friend can still progress their character and make money, they just won't be progressing their own story. While in co-op though, to counter for the fact you have two people, the enemies will have more health and stability, so they'll be harder to kill. You can also resurrect your teammates unless you both die, which means you get a random death scenario. Currently, I haven't really experienced much co-op myself because there were very limited amounts of review keys being handed out for this game, and I was very lucky to get one of them. Now, let's talk about Outward's story. Personally, I found the world and its lore really interesting. Like, why is there purple grass near the Conflux Mountain? But the voice acting, unfortunately, is extremely weak, and most of the time the characters only say the start of the sentence, leaving you to read the rest of what they're saying yourself. Now, I don't know if this is going to change at launch, but I'd honestly urge you to look past this. I don't think the voice acting is really going to add much to the game anyway. If it was good or bad, it doesn't matter. since the NPCs more seem just to act as a plot device, encouraging you to go to this location and then that location and giving you a reason why you're doing that. The focus of Outward's gameplay is more on exploring, adventuring and crafting and surviving. Personally, I haven't really experienced enough of the story to tell you if it's good or bad. But the game does have lots of choices with consequences. And without spoiling too much, for example, you start the game with a bloodline debt that you need to pay in 5 days. If you fail to pay it, you actually lose your home, which is super annoying by the way, because that's what happened to me. You can get it back quite a while later, but it will cost you double. And 300 silver is a lot of money. And since the game saves every time you make a decision or every time something happens, and some of the quests are time dependent, it's actually, you kind of need to be a little bit aware of what's going on. The game has multiple endings though, and different factions to join, which means you need to do multiple playthroughs in order to see all the different endings. Now, the world of Outward is absolutely huge. It has 4 vastly different regions, including a mountainous one you start the game in, which even has seasons between winter and summer, and it snows and the whole ground changes. It's absolutely amazing. Despite the game not being a graphical masterpiece, it's actually very charming and really quite amazing. When I just really got into the game and I really personally enjoyed it. There's also a forest area, a marshland, and even a desert with lots of different enemy types as well. Navigation also plays a very key role in Outward as well. If you look at your map, you'll see it doesn't actually tell you where on earth you are. Instead, you actually need to use local landmarks to figure out which road you're on and whereabouts you are on the map. For example, the Conflux Mountain is a central landmark at the start of the game, which you can use to orientate yourself and point yourself west, east, north, depending on where you want to go. You get used to it very quickly, and to be honest, it's not a problem at all. You're not really going to get lost as much as you might think you are, if anyone's worried about it watching this video. Each zone though has between 6 and 8 big dungeons. You'll definitely need a torch to guide your way around these locations because they're very dark otherwise, literally pitch black. I love games that are not afraid to actually use darkness as a game mechanic. In Outward, it definitely is. You can though use a lantern which can be attached to larger bags, and that allows you to keep both of your hands free for a two-handed weapon or a shield. And you guys can see the lighting in this game, despite the graphics, is actually really beautiful, and I think the dungeons of the game actually make it very atmospheric, especially with these complex corridors that make it quite easy to get lost. On top of this, there are also lots of locations, bandit forts and mysterious landmarks to explore. I haven't really got that much into it yet myself though. I feel like with Outward you spend the first few hours just figuring out the mechanics of the game and understanding how everything works, which is actually quite a nice trial and error experience I haven't experienced in a while. Now I am going to be doing a full walkthrough of Outward, and if you guys want to check it out, it will be linked at the top of the description, and I'm probably going to release it on the 26th of March when the game actually comes out. That will give you a proper idea of how to get started and how the game actually plays. So if you want to watch that, subscribe and press the bell icon, and then YouTube will notify you as soon as it's out. Or you can just follow me on social media like Twitter. And if you guys want to check out my live stream channel, linked down below in the description. I do plan to live stream this game. It's quite a fun game to live stream, I think, because it can be so unforgiving. Let me know what you guys think of this game so far from what I've told you and what you've seen in the comment section. Personally, I've been nothing but impressed by the initial 10 hours of my time in the game, and I'm amazed that such a tiny team of developers has put together such a mechanically advanced game, and it's definitely the most original survival RPG I've seen, maybe even since Dragon's Dogma, and that didn't have any survival elements in it. So I really think Outward is offering us a truly unique RPG survival experience like none other I've really played. So I definitely recommend checking this game out, and it's not even being sold at full price either, but I think you guys are going to spend a ton of time in this game. But guys, thank you so much for watching me, ESO. I will see you in my next video. Have a fantastic day, and goodbye.